Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, everyone. Thank you for joining us, whether you're joining us from Facebook, YouTube, or Twitter, which we are now live on, alhamdulillah. As you may have noticed, we usually do our Q&As on Thursday at 6 p.m. BST. Today we are doing this live on Wednesday, but just for this week, and next week we'll continue every Thursday, 6 p.m. BST, inshallah, with Shaykh Akram. Anyone who has a question, just put it in the comments below. On Twitter, I think it should just be just tagging us in a tweet below this live, inshallah. Let's start with one question that we missed last week from Brother Shaib. And his question was it's on the screen now. Did Umar radiallahu anhu scold Abu Hurairah as a result of him forging a hadith?
No, this is actually, okay, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Hadith of the Prophet ﷺ has been actually received to the and transmitted to the Ummah through his companions. And companions, all of them are reliable. But most important people among them, those who actually narrated the most of the religion, they have been certified by the Prophet ﷺ. He praised them very well. Among them are all Khulafa Rashidun, Abdullah ibn Mas'ud, Abdullah ibn Umar, Abu Huraira, Aisha, all these people, the most people who narrate all the hadiths. Abu Huraira is a great jurist, very pious, God-fearing, and his memory is amazing. The Prophet ﷺ made dua for his memory, so that way he was able to memorize more hadith than anybody else. It hadith in Sahih Bukhari, he said, nobody knows as many hadith as I, because the Prophet made dua for him, except Abdullah ibn Amr, because he used to write, and I did not write. I used to memorize. He knew very clearly. But the thing is, some of the points in the hadith, they could be very important for the fiqh and for the judgment. So in those cases, sometime, especially some khulafa, they could be more strict to find any support. Most narrations, people have no problem to accept from any companion. But for some narrations, you could think maybe the person did not learn properly or forgot. So you need some support. So for some of those hadith, not only for Abu Huraira, for Abu Musa al-Ashari, there is a well-known narration that Abu Musa al-Ashari came to the house of Umar and knocked the door. And Umar did not answer. And then he knocked second time, or third time, and then he left. And Umar was just seeing what he's doing. Then Umar called him and asked him, why did you leave? So he said, the Prophet said, when you come to somebody's house, say salam once, twice, third time. If third time they don't answer, then go back. So he said, you must bring a witness for this. Then Abu Musa al-Ashari went to the assembly of Ansar, and there was Ubay ibn Ka'b with other people. He asked somebody to support. Ubay ibn Ka'b said, everybody knows this hadith. The youngest man among our companions will witness for you. And then Zayd ibn Thabit came and witnessed. Umar knew the hadith, but he wanted to make people more careful. So similarly for Abu Hurairah, many hadiths Abu Hurairah, everybody accepted without any condition. But sometime Umar will ask him to bring a proof of evidence. So that all, Umar saw Abu Hurairah was narrating hadith in the mosque of the Prophet ﷺ. Then Aisha became annoyed. So Abu Hurairah asked her, I know all these hadiths. Did you find any mistake? She said, no, there is no mistake in your hadith. But the Prophet did not narrate so many hadiths at once as you doing. So that was the criticism, not because he did mistake. And actually the thing is, Abu Hurairah hadith, all of them are supported by other companions. Some hadith by Aisha supported, some by Abu Sa'id al-Khudri, some by Jabir, some by Abdullah ibn Umar, some by Aisha. It is supported, and he narrated nearly what people say in 7,000 or 7,000 hadiths altogether. And in all these number, they only found 7 hadiths where there no support. And all these thousands, they have got support. And these 7 actually, they are not so important anyway. All is important hadiths, they are supported by the people. So this thing is raised by Shia people. Don't listen to them, and verify all the information in the light of the reliable sources in the Bukhari and Muslim and other books of the Hadith and Sirah.
Jazakallah khair, Shaykh. Just quickly before we go on to the next question, you do seem to be lagging and pausing a bit for me. So if one or two people can just comment below and let me know if everything else is fine on their side, and then inshallah, I'll know it's just a problem with me. Let's go to a question from Muhammad. What is your explanation of the hadith in Sahih al-Bukhari regarding a disease and its cure being on the two wings of a fly?
Okay, I think what you mean actually, the hadith of the fly, that the Prophet ﷺ said, when a fly falls in your food, so dip it, because in one of the wing there is disease and the other wing has got a cure. So, and it always puts the wing of the disease first. So if you dip, then other wing also will be dipped, and then you can eat. So this is hadith, famous hadith, and many people have done research really. There's actually somebody wrote a whole book on this hadith recently and published, and scientific evidence. I don't know much about medical science, but anyway, some people have done research and wrote on that. Uh, and everybody knows really that if you live in the villages and rural areas, there are so many flies. Because if a fly falls in your food and you throw it away, it will waste of thing. In the West, especially in developed countries these days, you don't have flies in the kitchen. So for the people, it is easy. If sometimes a fly falls, they throw the food. But it cannot be happen in other countries because the flies are everywhere. And actually, all the Indian sweets which are made, I remember once we were in India in Tablighi Jamaat, and in the morning we they appoint some two people to prepare breakfast. One name was mine. Me and one of my friend, we went to buy Indian sweet jalebi, uh, but it was too early. So the one who makes jalebi, he just got up. So we saw his container where he's going to make it all full of ant and this flies and this and that. And then he came and just with something cl- cleaned, but still the same oil he used. To my friends, I'm not going to use it. It's so dirty. I said, whether because you have seen all Indian sweets, they are made like that. They always flies. Actually, even in the sweets, sometimes you can feel there's a flies and this and that. So, thing is, people eat and then nobody dies, and all this are going on. So anyway, if you mean that hadith, so that is Sahih hadith in Sahih Bukhari and also other books of the hadith. And ulama actually have good explanation of the hadith, as I mentioned to you. So there's nothing actually wrong in the hadith.
Okay, Jazakallah khair, Shaykh. An interesting story about your time in India. I think all of us enjoy hearing these little stories. Let's take a question from Fariha. Just reciting Quran in Arabic and also reciting the meaning, which is better?
Because the Quran is the word of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So, whenever you read like one page, to read first in Arabic and then spend a half an hour, whatever, understanding and translation, so that then you combine between both of them. Reading Arabic does not take much time anyway. So I'll advise you to do both. But if people somehow find difficulty to read Arabic and just focus on the translation, I don't mind. Because real thing is the Quran has come for guidance. So if people get guidance from the Quran, they are successful people. But at the same time, if you read also with your tongue, as the Prophet used to do, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So it is combining between both good deeds, reading, with the tongue, and also understanding and learning the meaning and pondering. People should ponder the book of Allah subhanahu wa taala.
Okay, we have a question from Junaid here, which is a very big question. What is knowledge and how can I know if anything is true?
This is a very important question, no doubt, really, that how people know what is true. uh, you know, Initially, later on, the truth because the sources, when you develop, for example, now if I want to know something true, I will ask the person what you reference, the Quran, the Sunnah, this and that, and some reasoning. And then I see, okay, verify all the sources are fine and reasoning is good. So it is a sound knowledge. But sometimes you don't know the reasoning, you don't understand. Maybe first time you heard something. So how do you know something right? The reason really is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created the human being on a true nature. So when people teach you something and it conforms your nature, you know it is true. So for example, somebody advised me that just use this food, which has no oil, not much sugar, and he explains to me that it's good for your health. Then I think really that's true, really, because what I need is something which can give me energy and this and that. It makes more sense, so I accept it. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a specialist of the food, but his reasoning, I find good. Sometimes somebody comes and said, eat this food, Indian food, all this kebab, samosa, biryani, it's so good and tasty. So if I am a man of the desire, I'll be happy. But if I really want to understand the truth, I'll say, no, let me think really. If I eat all this food, is it going to be good for my nature, my fitra, my health? Give me energy, or is it going to make fat and bring disease and problem? Let me find out. Then we'll know. So people's actually reference is the fitra. But fitra is not so clear for everybody. So that's why to know sound knowledge for most people it is very, very difficult. But if you spend time and think, it can be fine. So anyway, what I'm trying to say is use as a reference your fitra, your reason, and the sources, the Quran, the Sunnah, all those things. Sometimes could be possible that two opinions look equally same. That's fine. Then try any of them, and Allah will forgive you. Because when people make effort and they do mistake, Allah forgive them, and Allah always guides people. But make a reference like that: your fitra, your reason, and the sound revelation. The Quran is sound anyway by its explanation, and sound hadith. And then see really what pious people have been thinking, because generally, if pious people agree on something, Allah supports them. So look for the pious, not look for the people who just write a lot of books. People who fear Allah, they are the honest people. Those who want to know what Allah says, those who fear the day of judgment, to find people like that, they will be more likely. So true. Imam Ibn Taymiyyah rahmatullah said, the pious people are better to be followed than those who are merely intellectuals and they don't fear Allah. Because with your reasoning, sometimes wrong things could be, pretended to be sound. People manipulate the knowledge. But when people fear Allah, so then want to find the sound knowledge. To always look for the people who have both quality, actually, the knowledge and the piety.
And just quickly, Shaykh, can you define what the fitra is? Because some people can just say it's what sits right in their heart, and that can mean anything.
Fitra is not very difficult to know really. The thing really, just see, when you buy a plant, you find out really how much sun it needs, how much water it needs, and then you follow that. So for yourself, actually, your fitra. When the child is born, why the child happy with the mother? He cries and then the mother gives her milk, and he's fine. All the time. Why? It is fitra. Otherwise, if you give something else, he will not be happy. But the milk makes him happy. So the water, when you're thirsty, water. Not that you start eating tree or stones. Water, it is fitra. That water, milk. You get food. Similarly, surrendering to Allah. That's your fitra, deepest fitra. You want to submit, surrender to Him, because you are have abundance of His favors. You want to thank Him. That deep in your fitra. Like whenever anybody does it, like I'm teaching you, I've seen really. Whenever I meet my students, they really are overwhelmed by the contribution in made to them, and they want to thank me. They're so happy. So when you do a favor to the people, they really want to by fitra to thank you, not just to show off that that to impress me. I can see really it is their nature. To thanking is the nature fitra. So you need to work on that, and sometimes fitra can be corrupted. So you have to clean and purify. But anyway, I don't think in this short question answer time I can explain well. I have written something on the fitra as well, and maybe sometime. Actually, I also have taught sometimes some courses, especially by the Quran, in more detail, because fitra is the foundation from which people know the sound knowledge. So maybe if I find my articles, I'll just pass on, inshallah, and you can read that.
Perfect. Jazakallah khair, Shaykh. That was actually a really good explanation. Let's take a question from another Junaid. Assalamu alaikum. A girl started to practice Islam and then she found that Islam is more advantageous to men. She was saddened by this and even wanted to leave Islam. There might be more girls like her and they might have left Islam. So, can you please comment? Is Islam more preferable to men?
The thing really is, this is happening out of the ignorance and wrong teachings. What the first thing we have to understand really, that we don't deserve anything. In this universe, we did not make anything. So whatever is there is given by Allah, whether to men, whether to women, and whether anybody. I find really that Quran favors women more than the men. So it could be that you have a wrong teachers or wrong teaching by find. Think really, a man after the marriage, he has to provide accommodation to his wife, all the expenses to his wife. And if you look really, financially in Islam, there's no obligation on the woman, nothing. So somebody can say that Islam favors women more than the men. I was reading a Christian priest. He has written that when I read the Quran, if I had not known, I would have been thinking this book is written by a woman. Because it favors women over the men. So you can, some people read it and find like that. So it depends really. Some people can say that God prefers sun over human being, because sun is high and shining and this and that, does not get any disease and does not have any problem. It's more powerful than the man. It has more favor. We are inferior. People can say that human beings are inferior to the angels and just have no sin, nothing, always obedient, more powerful, stronger. That's true. So animals can complain that human beings have got more favor than us. Everybody keep complaining really. At the end of the day, what you need to do is think what Allah has given me. It's more than what I deserve. Thank Him and follow His commands. That in the day of judgment, what Allah is going to look is piety. If a man or woman among them, one is more pious than the other, they will be favored by Allah. The real favor is the paradise, not in this world. This is just 60, 70-year life. Real favor will be there. And in that favor, people are not going to be judged because they are a man or woman. Then gender is not going to be important. What will be important will be your knowledge and practice, your iman. So women should realize really that if sometimes you have difficulty, men also have difficulty. Everybody has difficulty, but that your test and you get a reward for that. And the real thing will be in the day of judgment, that who Allah SWT favors. There Allah does not favor anybody because of their gender. He only favors people because of their piety, what contribution they make. If a woman makes more contribution, she will favor. But if we don't accept, you want to rebel, tell me how can we harm Allah? If you don't accept Islam, don't surrender to Him. How going to do good to you? Then you fail more, because there's no other God. If you have two choices, okay, this God is more, is oppressing and he's favoring men, I will change my side. I vote for this God. But there's no other God, only one. There's no choice we have got. The two parties, you can say one is actually more, favoring the men and one more favoring the women. Okay, women can vote for this party. But in this matter, there's only one God. Everybody had to surrender to Him. And He loves everybody. He has nothing, no hatred to the women. Sometimes could be misunderstanding. So, read the Quran, read His book, make effort to understand. By leaving Him and deserting Him, you don't benefit yourself. You don't get anything. Nothing will happen. It's still going to die. Still you're going to come to Him. People have become unbelievers. Still they have to come to Him. By rebelling, nobody is going to harm Him. They harm themselves. It's a very serious matter. We should think and try to understand this universe and our position there, and the real reward in the of judgment. Otherwise, people can say Allah has favored rich people more over the poor, and I am poor, I'm going to leave Islam. Allah has favored healthy people more than the ill, and I have got cancer, I'm going to leave Islam. Allah has favored people who have got eye, and I am blind, I'm going to leave Islam. So, Allah has favored more European people, and I'm an Indian, a village, rural areas, I don't have favor, I leave Islam. If you start doing something like that, really, then all the time you have complaints. It's all tested. Everybody is being tested, not men and women. Even among the men, Somebody is king, somebody is a minister, somebody is very, very rich, and some people are very poor. They even don't have anything to eat. Men. So now these men start complaining that other men are more rich and I am not rich. Allah has no favor upon me. I leave Islam. If you leave, who is going to harm? Yourself. So try to understand. Allah says in the Quran, He has made people like that to test each other. So sometimes men have more favor, sometimes women have more favor, sometimes among the men some people have more favor in this world, because this how this world is. But what matters is the hereafter. In the hereafter, your favor will be according to your deeds, not according to your gender or according to your place of birth, nothing. It will be according to your deeds. To work for that and compete for that. The Quran says, "Fi dhalika falyatanafasil mutanafisun." People should compete about their status in the day of judgment.
Jazakallah khair, Shaykh. Let's take another question that unfortunately I think a lot of us can relate to. How can I fight my addiction with TV and other worldly things? I keep falling back to it even though I pray consistently. What should I do? And I think this maybe comes to people watching a lot of TV, being on social media a lot, maybe playing games.
Thing really, somebody was asking a question about fitra and all this thing. Just think, what is your nature? Is your nature really just sit on the TV and keep watching? You can see. So it is not your nature. It's going to harm your health, your eye on the screen, everything, and waste of your time. You can know really. And then if you know, then leave it. Human being should be strong enough to follow what is good and leave what is harmful. That's how people should be. And make yourself busy. When you're busy and task and doing, like for example, I'm here to teach. Now in this time, if World Cup is happening and final going on and the whole universe is excited, I will not be excited because I'm sitting here teaching. So when you're busy, for the prayer, for reading the Quran, understanding, make yourself busy in good things. And always use your mind not to waste time. Sometimes you need to have relaxation. Sometimes you need to, give yourself some ease. That's fine. Sometimes it is possible. Some programs can help you, but be limited. Make your limit. Don't waste your time. The life goes very quickly. I am very often actually this pressure in my mind that life is passing so quickly and we are wasting our time. So when it comes to my mind, even if I'm not feeling well, I force myself to do something. So that I have been teaching people. One of my daughter Fatima, she said to me that she learned from this word so much that I said to her, force yourself. So that's true really. It is not that good things come easily. You have to force yourself. If you know something good, then do it. And something harmful, then force yourself to leave it. Then one day become your habit. But if you just don't want to force yourself and follow your desire, then you are not a proper human being. Very weak person, very weak personality. The real people follow reason. They judge with their reason something good, then they do it. They judge with their reason something harmful, then they leave it. So be strong. Don't become like weak people. I'm addicted. Addiction actually is weakness. So don't be proud of your weakness. Do things because it is good, and leave things because it is harmful. That's how you should do. Not by addiction or by desire. That is the way of the children. Children do like that. Weak people. But the strong people, they follow the reason and mind.
Jazakallah khair, Shaykh. I think that was a reminder that we all needed. Let's take a question from Fahim. Why do some scholars say that a woman needs 4 eyewitnesses to prove her claim of being raped?
Thing is that people have they mix in between two things. One is zina, normal adultery, where actually man and woman have desire and they fulfill the desire without a marriage. So that needs 4 witnesses. Reason is generally these things are done, in a way people cannot see, anybody can accuse anybody. So Allah SWT want to protect people's honor and this and that. So 4 witnesses. If anybody accuses, someone, so they have to be punished, because otherwise any woman can be accused. 2 people can make conspiracy and accuse this woman has done adultery, and now she's going to be punished, rajm, stoning. So that is a very dangerous matter. So for these purposes, people need 4 witnesses. So they respect women and they know their honor. They don't accuse them of adultery. Same thing, men, they protect. But sometimes some women are, raped, you know, forcefully and this and that. That's another matter. That's not simple zina or adultery when two people agree. This actually she has been forced. For that one, you need another proof. That judge can do. Sometimes two people, sometimes some examining of the body, sometimes finding the people who are accused. There are so many ways to find the crimes in this world. So that does not need for witness. That needs a proof. If a judge can establish that is called in Islam muharaba. So don't mix between two things. When it matters the zina, where man and woman have relation with desire willingly, both of them want to have this relation, then it's a different matter. Then here you need 4 witnesses because anybody can accuse anybody. But when somebody has been offended by force or by any way, then how can a woman find 4 witnesses? It's impossible. Then there are other measurements to prove the crime, and judges know, the courts know, they will do that.
Jazakallah khair, Shaykh. Let's take a question from Ihsan. These are 2-part questions, so I think only the first part will show on screen. How does one have khushu' during salah when one doesn't know the meaning of the surah that they are reciting? I always thought that one should contemplate on the recited words, but if people basically only utter the Arabic syllables without knowing the meaning, how do millions of layman Muslims go about the issue of trying to achieve khushu'? How do you define khushu' yourself, Shaykh?
First thing is really, khushu does not depend on understanding the meaning. All these millions of Arabs, they know the meaning of Qul huwallahu ahad, Qul a'udhu birabbil falaq, and all these surahs which are easy in the Quran. Do they have khushu? And even yourself, all the ulama, I know the meaning of all these surahs. Do I have a khushu because I know the meaning? No, it doesn't depend. It is something different, really. Concentrating, for bringing your mind. People utter the words without thinking because of habit. Even dua in the morning, even people just ask Allah, oh Allah, give me money. Even that word, which in their own language, they don't concentrate. They have no khushu. Khushu is not because you know the meaning. Khushu needs concentration, focusing, being attentive, be attending the prayer properly with mind. Think that's a different matter. That can happen without knowing the meaning also, but meaning can be helpful. But first is focus, attend. How can you be attentive without knowing the meaning? Because many people really, the real prayer is the action. When you stand, think I'm in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In front of him, he sees me. When you go to ruku and sajda, think I'm surrendering to him, full submission to him. The words are only to help you, but they are not actually in ruku. If you don't say Subhan Rabbil Azim, still ruku is fine. If you don't say Subhan Rabbil Ala, still your sajda is fine. Nobody said to obligatory to say these words. Words are not important. Important the action. Think what I'm doing really. Even some people read the Quran not obligatory. Like Imam Sufyan Uyayna said, reading the Quran, the prayer is not obligatory, and the prayer can be valid without any reading. So how do they have khushu? Thinking by the action. So khushu comes by being attentive, not necessarily knowing the meaning of the word. People know the meanings and they have no khushu at all. And there are people who don't know any word, but they have khushu. There are many people in India, they don't know Arabic, but still when they pray, they have khushu because they know what they're doing. Standing in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, surrendering to him in ruku and sajda, this thing, and crying and weeping. So that's a different matter. To try to understand, the real thing is your mind. Focus the mind. Reading is not important in the prayer, but if you read and understand, sometimes it can be helpful. But real thing is, your mind. Focus. Force yourself to think what you're doing.
Okay, inshallah, I think we shall wrap it up there since it's 6:30. Jazakallah khair, Shaykh, for your time. And Jazakumullah khair and everyone else for joining us. Just quickly, inshallah, if I can have a quick announcement. Just yesterday, we launched our first short course of the academic year. This short course is a detailed study of Bukhari and Tirmidhi with Shaykh Akram Nadwi. This course is a year-long course, but it's part-time, so it's just spread out in 10 days, but 10 full days. So inshallah, if you are interested, just head on to the URL on the screen. Again, thank you everyone for your questions. They were very beneficial, and I hope everyone else was able to take some sort of benefit, inshallah. Next week, we'll be having our Q&A from Thursday, 6 p.m. BST, inshallah. And please do follow our social media. We've got YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Keep up with our stuff, inshallah. And until next week, assalamu alaikum, everyone.